It started with a whisper. Just a whisper. A voice, soft and aching, drifting through our headphones. No explosions, no hype, just a question. Who am I? And somehow that single whisper has now echoed across the entire planet. For 49 weeks straight, Jimin's Who has done the impossible. In a world where songs come and go like trends on a timeline, where algorithms decide what lives and dies, this one survived. And not just survived, it soared. For 49 consecutive weeks, Who has remained on the United World Chart, a list curated from the most official weighted global charts, factoring sales, streams, and airplay from every major country. It's not just any chart, it's the world's chart. And Who is the first K-pop solo song in history to remain on it for almost an entire year. What's even more shocking? It's still charting. This week, July 5th, 2025, Who is sitting at number 40, still climbing, still reaching people who haven't even discovered it yet. And when you think about how many songs have come and gone in that time, it's nothing short of a miracle. But maybe we shouldn't be surprised, because Jimin doesn't make music to chase trends. He makes music that chases truth. And who is that truth? It's about the quiet pain we don't show, the inner questions we carry in silence, the ache of feeling invisible, even when surrounded by people. That's why it connects so deeply, because Jimin didn't just sing Who, he felt it, he lived it, and millions around the world heard their own story in his voice. This wasn't the first time Jimin's music left the industry breathless. Back in August 2024, Who debuted at number 1 on the United World Chart with 375,000 points, a record-breaking feat for a soloist. But the story didn't end there. While most songs fade after a few weeks, Who refused to fade. It grew, it evolved, it became a global anthem for the unseen. Now Who has amassed over 7,496,000 points on the United World Chart's all-time track chart. Let's pause on that number. That makes it the first Asian solo song in over a decade to cross 7 million points globally. Not only that, Jimin now ranks number 5 among all K-pop songs of all time, standing shoulder to shoulder with the biggest musical titans. And he did it alone. No features, no gimmicks, just raw honesty. Just Jimin. But if you think Who is the only chapter in this story, think again. Let's go back even further to April 2023, when Jimin released his first solo album, Face. In its debut week, Face moved over 1.1 million units, a jaw-dropping number for any artist, but for a Korean soloist, it was unheard of. He became the highest debuting Korean solo artist ever on the United World Album Chart, topping it for 2 consecutive weeks. And then, he did it again. With Muse in 2024, Jimin became the first and only Korean soloist to have multiple albums ranked on the United World Chart's global year-end album chart. That's not just success. That's a shift in the way the world sees Korean soloists. That's history. But beyond the charts, beyond the numbers and the records, what really matters is the emotion behind all of it. Jimin doesn't just make music. He gives you a part of himself. He bleeds into every lyric. He breathes into every silence. Who is not a hit? It's a home. For the misfits, for the late-night overthinkers, for the ones who don't feel seen, for the ones who ask quietly, do I matter? And Jimin, without ever shouting, answers back, yes, you do. That's why the song hasn't disappeared from the charts, because it hasn't disappeared from us. So now, 49 weeks in, with more than 7 million hearts touched, Jimin stands as a symbol of what's possible. He didn't follow the industry, he followed his soul. And the world followed him. This isn't just a record, this is a revolution. Jimin didn't just survive the charts, he rewrote them.